What if writing had never been invented? Have you ever wondered what would happen if writing had never been invented? Just imagine. The phone you use right now wouldn't exist. No books. No recorded history. No laws, science, school systems, or internet. Even the script for this video wouldn't exist. Because one of the greatest inventions in human history would have never appeared. Writing? Why was the invention of writing so important? Humans have existed for nearly 300,000 years. But writing was invented only about 5,000 years ago. That means for most of human history, people couldn't write anything down. Information was passed on only through speech. A father would tell his son, and he would tell his own son. But there was a major problem. Human memory is flawed. As information passes from generation to generation, it changes, fades, or disappears completely, just like the game of telephone. Writing changed all of that. For the first time, humanity began storing knowledge outside the human brain. Now, even if a person died, their knowledge could survive. And this accelerated human progress tremendously. Would science exist without writing? Probably not. Because science is built upon accumulated knowledge. There's a famous quote by Newton. "If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants." In other words, without the knowledge of previous scientists, new discoveries would never happen. Now think about this. If writing had never existed, no formula could ever be permanently recorded. Mathematics couldn't advance. The laws of physics couldn't survive across generations. Even if someone made a discovery, that knowledge would most likely disappear when they died. Some information might still be passed down orally, but complex knowledge would become nearly impossible to preserve. For example, the computer technology we use today is the result of millions of pages of accumulated knowledge. Electrical equations, engineering calculations, programming languages, all of them depend on writing. Without writing, humanity probably would have never experienced the Industrial Revolution. And most likely, we would still be living in agricultural societies today. How would religions and mythologies change? This part gets really interesting. Because all major religions today are based on sacred texts. The Quran, the Bible, the Torah. Without writing, these teachings could only survive through oral transmission. But in oral cultures, information changes over time. Perhaps the same religion would split into completely different versions after only a few centuries. Some religions might even disappear entirely. Mythologies would also be different. We know ancient Greek stories today because someone wrote them down. If writing had never existed, maybe we would never have heard of Zeus, Odin, or ancient civilizations at all. History itself would fade into a dark fog. States and empires would collapse. Now let's think even bigger. How do you govern a state? Taxes, laws, armies, population records. All of these require systems of record keeping. Without writing, building large empires would become incredibly difficult. Because you can't manage millions of people through spoken commands alone. The Roman Empire, the Ottoman Empire, Chinese dynasties, all of them relied on massive archive systems. No writing means no bureaucracy. Humanity would most likely live in small tribes or city-states. The world would never become as organized as it is today. Maybe even the concept of a country would never fully exist. The internet and modern technology wouldn't exist. In fact, even the video you're watching right now is a result of writing. Because computers are built on coding. And coding itself works entirely through written systems. Every application, every game, Every artificial intelligence system contains billions of lines of written commands. Without writing, the digital world could never exist. No YouTube, no Google, no smartphones. People would still communicate only face to face. Information could never travel across the world in seconds. Maybe the world itself would feel much slower. Could the human brain have evolved differently? Now let's go even deeper. Because writing didn't just change the world, it also changed the human brain. Research shows that literacy actually creates physical differences in brain structure. In other words, writing physically shaped our minds. So what if writing had never existed? Perhaps humans would develop far stronger memories, because they would be forced to memorize everything. In ancient times, some people could recite thousands of lines of epic poetry entirely from memory. In a world without writing, these abilities might become extraordinarily advanced. Maybe humans would become incredible storytellers and oral historians. But there would still be one major problem. Human memory is not infinite. And because of that, the growth of civilization would remain limited. History itself would disappear. We know the past because people recorded it. Wars, kings, discoveries. They were all written down. But without writing, there is no history. Maybe today we would know absolutely nothing about civilizations that existed 2,000 years ago. We might not even fully know our own past. Humanity could become a species constantly losing its memory. Every generation would be forced to rediscover things all over again. Fire, agriculture, metalworking. The loss of knowledge would slow progress dramatically. Is writing humanity's true superpower? Maybe what separates humans from other living creatures isn't intelligence, but the ability to store knowledge. A lion has to learn hunting skills on its own. But humans can use the knowledge of people who lived thousands of years ago. Because writing allows information to travel beyond time itself. Right now, you are reading the thoughts of people who are already dead. Maybe a philosopher who lived 2,000 years ago is still influencing your mind today. That's actually incredible. Writing allows humanity to function almost like a single organism. Each generation builds upon the previous one instead of starting from zero. And that is how civilization grows. Final, a silent world. If writing had never been invented, maybe wars would be fewer. Maybe the world would be calmer. But science, technology, and modern civilization would most likely never exist. Humanity might still live in small communities struggling against nature. And perhaps the scariest part would be this. Humanity would be forced to keep forgetting. Because writing is not just made of letters. Writing is humanity's shared memory. And without that memory, civilization would most likely never have become what it is today. So what do you think? Would the world be a better place without writing, or would it descend into complete chaos?